Welcome to First Down Punts, a show about the on-field and off-the-field news in the world of pro football, as well as how it relates to fantasy football all season long. Thanks for joining in, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And welcome in, everyone, to another episode of First Down Punts. I'm your host, Coach Chris, and today we're going to be going over top 5 overdrafted players and top 5 underdrafted players in fantasy football right now. And this is off of the Sleeper app. We're going to be using the rankings. So before we get into that, let's get into some NFL news as of late in the last week. Cam Akers signed with the Saints. To me, that's not a huge deal. I still think Devin Neal is going to end up being the backup there. Akers might not even make the team. If he does, then Neal's value drops a little bit. I'm out on Kendre Miller. I'm sure he'll get carries here and there, but I don't think he's going to be an impact player for them. Jair Alexander, cornerback that the Packers cut last week, has signed with the Ravens and used to play football with Lamar at Louisville when they were college teammates. So I believe that's what it was, yeah. And so apparently Lamar was like, go get him, and the next day the Ravens signed him. But with them losing to Darius Washington, the safety, they needed to add some more to that DB room. It's a corner instead of a safety, but all the same, they're adding a good player to a good defense. So good for them. The Jets, I thought this was interesting with the news that they signed a thicker kicker kid. He played at Missouri, I believe it was. But the more important part of this statement was the Jets kicker and punter have never played a down in the NFL right now. So they're going on the cheap end with these guys. They're in New York with Aaron Glenn as the first-time head coach. We got Jake Bates in Detroit out of the CFL or whatever it is there, or XFL. So definitely interesting, something to keep an eye on. Maybe not be drafting their kicker, maybe draft their kicker. Who knows? We'll see what happens in preseason, how good he looks. But in Cincinnati, more non-news. The talks are back on with Trey Hendrickson. Nothing has happened as of yet. And they still haven't signed their first or second round pick. I know Shamar Stewart's getting all the publicity about it because he's being vocal about it. But they haven't signed their first or second round pick due to the contract language they're trying to put in there now. And the second round pick is part of because of a couple teams, Houston included, with Jaden Higgins. They gave him a fully guaranteed contract, which was a newer thing for a team to do. So I think that's probably to hold up more in the second round. But with the first rounder, it's been all over the news, so you should know what's going on there. And the last thing I thought was interesting that popped up, there was Henry Ruggs, once back in the NFL, if he can get parole whenever he's up for it next. And apparently there's a few teams that might be interested in checking him out. I mean, he still had, I think it was like a 4.29 or 4.31 speed when he was at the combine back in the day before he got drafted by the Raiders. Obviously, he had a terrible accident and ended up where he is now. But it'd be interesting to see if Mike Vick can come back. I'm sure Henry Ruggs can make a comeback if he's good enough. So. And the other thing of note, one of the steals of the draft of Kansas City getting Simmons out of Ohio State. He is scheduled to be ready for training camp about to start, leading into the preseason, as well as Rashee Rice. So I'm sure he's shooting everybody's board into the first round all of a sudden with all the hype I've been seeing about him. I'm not as super hyped about him, mainly because we've yet to see it do it for a full season. He got banged up last year. There's a slight possibility with the off-field stuff that he could miss time this year. I think that's less concerning. And that reminds me of the other thing. Jordan Addison, his court case is going to trial. I heard that the basic thing for what he's charged with, I forget what it was, reckless driving or something, is a 3-game suspension is like the standard for what he's being charged with right now and going to trial over. So if he is convicted, expect him to miss 3 games this season, probably at the beginning of it if it gets expedited and gets taken care of pretty quickly here. So it'd probably be better to have the answer before you draft. I'm sure he doesn't want to get suspended at all and doesn't want to be in any trouble. So that's probably his best wish. So we'll see what happens. But all right, guys, let's get into it. As a reminder, this is the sleeper ADP rankings of where they're getting drafted right now for Superflex PPR. So this is a 2 QB league with PPR scoring, and it'll definitely change if it's a single quarterback and change if it's a tight end premium and all that other stuff. But right now, I just feel like these guys, we're going to go into the overdrafted players right now. The players are being ranked too high, and I'm not paying the cost for them. Number one on that list, Ladd McConkey. He is currently ranked as the 11th wide receiver, and 24th overall is where he's been drafted in a 2QB PPR league. He's going 24th overall. I definitely think that's too high. I know last year he ended up with, I think it was 82 catches for like 1,200 yards, and he was getting force-fed the ball. I don't think he's going to be force-fed the ball as much. I still think he can hit that 82 catches, but I think he's more likely to have around like 1,000 yards this year, simply because with Mike Williams back, he is a better option on the outside. With Trey Harris getting drafted, with them signing Tyler McConkey and bringing in Gatson, you hear all the hype about him. Along with Hampton and Najee Harris coming in, they're probably going to have a little bit better of a running game. I know Dobbins was real exciting in the beginning of the season, but it kind of puttered out once he started getting banged up further into the season and everything. So McConkey was leaned on even more. So instead of it being a run play, they were just running short routes for him to get 3, 4, 5 yards. I don't think there's going to be the necessity for that as much. I got him going somewhere in like the 5th round, between 40 and 50th pick, mainly because I think there's better players to be drafted. And I got one in over underdrafted players. We'll get to that when I get to it. But right now, I think McConkey being ranked as the 11th wide receiver. I think I had him at 21 or something like that. Maybe it was like 18. I'd have to go back and look. But just not where I'm willing to take him. I'm definitely not paying that price for Ladd McConkey. And if you want to, that's up to you. I just don't think it's worth it in a 2QB league, a super flex league, regardless of it being a PPR. The next guy on the list, Caleb Williams. I've talked about him plenty, guys, in these other videos between winners and losers and quarterback rankings and all that other stuff. I'm still waiting for Caleb Williams to prove to me he can be a fantasy stud. He has potential. He has all the tools. I've talked about this. It's about doing it. It's about being able to do it every game, or the majority, 15, 14 out of 17 games, whatever you want to say. Just where I know I can count on you from week to week. It's not just, I accidentally got 60 yards rushing this week. The next week I got 17. That's just not helping me as much as he only throw for 170 yards. Now, they got him as the 13th ranked quarterback. I got Caleb Williams as the 21st ranked quarterback on my rankings, mainly because I have to see it. I'm not convinced. I think them getting him more weapons is definitely beneficial for his cause. I think the improvement among the offensive line is more beneficial for his cause. I don't trust the running game as much with only Swift and Roshan there and the Mahogany or whatever, or Monagai. I think it's Monagai is how you say it. The 7th round rookie. I'm not super excited about that. So more is going to be asked upon of Caleb, and I have my questions about whether he can deliver. He's going 38th overall in a 2QB league, and I get it's 2QB league. You want to grab him there in the 4th. I'm probably not willing to grab him till like 55 to 70, somewhere between the end of the 6th and in the middle of the 7th, somewhere in that range. Mainly because I think there's other quarterbacks I'd rather have. I'd rather have Goff. I'd rather have Justin Fields. There's a lot of guys Stafford even I'd rather take over Caleb Williams, just because I think Stafford's about to have a huge year here at the end of his career. So just not a guy I'm willing to count on as my number 2 QB, definitely not as my number 1. And so for that, I think he's getting drafted way too high. Next guy on the list, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Talked about this in the wide receiver rankings and as well as the mock draft that I did. I'm going to be doing another one of those, so keep your eye out for that. But Jackson Smith-Njigba is ranked as the 12th best wide receiver this year by Sleeper ADP. And he's 32nd overall, so right there at the beginning of the 4th. The 3-4 turn's not a huge reach for him. I think I would wait around. I would much rather get him at the 4th, beginning of the 4th, end of the 4th, right there in that range. And I don't have him ranked this high. I think I had him at like 18 or something. Like I said, mainly because there's just guys that I would rather have, especially with him never being the true number 1. He still had Metcalf and Lockett there last year, like I talked about in the wide receiver videos. He's got a new quarterback, a new offensive coordinator. There's just a lot of questions surrounding him. And they got Tony Horton. They got Cooper Kupp. I just don't know how good Seattle's going to be this year. And, yeah, he might still have 95 catches, but is he going to have the 1,300 yards, or is it going to be like 1,050 because Seattle's just not doing that good as an offense? What if he doesn't have 12 touchdowns, he only has 6? You're not going to be as happy drafting them right there at the end of the 3rd, beginning of the 4th, when you could have got somebody that outscores him by a mile. And if he does go, fine, great. Wait around. If you get him, okay, I can understand. He's your number 2. But don't draft this guy as your number 1. I think he's getting to that, but I got to see it with another year, with a new quarterback. There's just, like I said, a lot of questions. New OC. We don't know what kind of offense they're truly going to run. We've seen Kubiak before. We know they want to run, but they got new players. They got new pieces. Some guys like to change it. Some guys have a system. I just want to see what's going to happen, and I'm not willing to pay that price there at the beginning of the 4th round for a guy that I think is a number 2 receiver. Number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. They have him ranked as the 18th best wide receiver. I'm not too mad about that. Like I said, I think I have him at 19 or 20. But I do have a problem with him being drafted as the 31st overall player. I think that's still too early for him. I think he's like Jackson Smith-Njigba. He should be going a round and a half later. Get him around 45 to 55, you're going to be real happy. You get him at where you're paying right now at 31st. Last year, he got drafted at 19th at the end of the 2nd round in my home league. Way too high. I thought that immediately because I'm not drafting a rookie wide receiver that high. Do I think Marvin Harrison is probably going to be more consistent? We hope so. But I have to see it. And the fact that they didn't get another receiver to draw attention, it's just him and McBride and Connor are really the only real offensive weapons right now. Like I said, I want them to sign Keenan Allen. Them are the Jets. Even though I like Josh Reynolds there with the Jets, as a number 2, I still think Keenan Allen's better than him at the end of the day. And it's just another trustworthy receiver for Justin Fields, who I think is going to have a big year already. But Marvin Harrison there at 31st is way too high for me. I would rather draft a quarterback. I'd rather draft a running back. There's just like a Ken Walker I would much rather have right there over him. You look at these guys around here and you're just like, there's other guys I would rather have at that ADP. And wait on a guy, go get you a different receiver a round or 2 later. Like Metcalf's being drafted way later. He's on my underdrafted list because I think that's where if you want to draft a receiver, draft the guy that's about to get over-targeted by Aaron Rodgers. But we'll get into that. Number 5 on the list, the last player of the overdrafted players, Omarion Hampton, the rookie there for the Chargers. He's getting drafted as the 18th best running back, which I got him lower than that. You want to draft him because the excitement. I'm not mad about so much as the running back ranking, just like with Harrison Jr. The ranking at the position, not so mad about. What you're paying to get him in a super flex league, instead of drafting a second quarterback here, a Bo Nix, a Matt Stafford, one of those guys, Justin Fields, you're paying for the 40th overall pick right there at the end of the 4th, beginning of the 5th. If you're in a 12-team league, all right, that's a little, it's a different round, but whatever. That's why I wanted to talk about the ADP pick and not the ADP round, because 40th overall is way too rich for my blood for Omarion Hampton. I think Omarion Hampton's going to take 6 to 8 weeks, and maybe it only takes 4 to take over. But in the meantime, you're not scoring as many points when you want to get off to a good start in fantasy. I know everybody's like, oh, you don't win at the draft. That doesn't mean you don't want to get off to a good start. You want to start building a lead on your opponents, and drafting a rookie who's splitting time with a veteran who's had 1,000 yards every year of his career, basically. It's just a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing for me to pay that price. I think he should be going back there with those receivers a little bit later probably than Harrison or Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he should be going anywhere from 55 to 70, maybe a little bit 75. Mainly because I just don't want to pay for a guy to split in time in an offense that is going to have a lot of different options spread out with a hell of a quarterback. I mean, it's not like they're leaning on the run. They want to run the ball, but they have Najee, so they're not forcing him out there. They have Hampton to split time with him, and for the first 4 to 6 weeks, if you're splitting time but not getting the touchdowns, it's not going to pay off for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. And for that, I can't pay the 40th overall pick. I just think that's ridiculous. All right. On to our 5 underdrafted players that are getting drafted way too late based on their ADP right now. I just talked about a minute ago. Number 1 on the list, DK Metcalf. I don't know if you guys know what DK Metcalf is capable of. But for him to be the 23rd ranked wide receiver and the 74th overall drafted player, I think is disrespectful to that man. I would have drafted him higher than this if they didn't sign Rodgers. And now that they have signed Rodgers, I'm sure this is probably going to go up some But DK Metcalf should be going as like the 15th, 16th best receiver. To have him at 23rd, that's way too low. He should be going. I'm taking DK Metcalf over Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith-Njigba, as well as Ladd McConkey. I don't know. Ladd McConkey and him are probably right there by each other, but I think those guys should be drafted. Like I said, McConkey I had going between 40 and 50. Yeah, I'm probably taking Metcalf over him because I think you should be drafting Metcalf as like the 35th overall player, 40th overall player, somewhere right in that range. Whereas they got him at 74th right now at current ADP in a Superflex league. And I'm trying to draft him way higher than that this year, guys. I think DK Metcalf could have a 1,400-yard season there in Pittsburgh. So, something to keep in mind. Number 2 on the list, Evan Ingram. He is currently being drafted as the 9th overall tight end. I have him as the 4th, man. I think Evan Ingram is about to have a hell of a year. He's getting drafted 117th overall. That's the 12th round for a tight end that's capable of having 100 catches. If you can get him there, great. You're getting a steal. But I'm not waiting that long. I'm taking Evan Ingram in the 7th, probably the end of the 6th to the beginning of the 8th, somewhere in that 60 to 70, 58, 80, or 74, or something like that, somewhere in that range. Because Evan Ingram's about to have a hell of a season with barring health, and we know Ingram's had his troubles. But when Ingram's healthy, man, he's going to be a weapon. Like I said, I think Evan Ingram could finish as the Broncos' leading the catch leader for this season. I think he could end the season as the target leader as well. If Evan Ingram gets 100 catches and 1,100 yards, 1,100 yards, and 13 touchdowns, you're going to be pissed you didn't draft him in the 6th to 7th round. And if you don't, you're going to regret it. I promise you that much. So if you can get him even later in the 60 to 70 range, great. But I'm not waiting until the 12th round, and I don't think any of your league mates are either. If they are, they're not paying attention. Number 3 on the list. I had this guy last year, talked about him in a receiver video. He's ranked too low. Not in my rankings, but in others. Calvin Ridley, Tennessee Titans. Currently going as the 37th overall wide receiver. Way too low. 108th overall is where he's getting drafted by ADP. That'd be what, the 11th round? If you can get Calvin Ridley in the 11th round, you're probably going to win your league. Same with Evan Ingram. If you can get him in the 12th round, you're going to win your league more than likely, as long as you didn't screw up the first 10, 11 rounds. But these guys should be getting drafted higher than that, man. They should be getting, like, Calvin Ridley should be going in the end of the 7th to the 8th round. 7th, 8th round pick. You're going to be real happy. Pick 70 to 80 is what I should say. Anywhere in that range, 65 to 85, you're going to be real happy with Calvin Ridley. He's the number 1 wide receiver in Tennessee still. And last year he played with the mailman who cannot be consistent as a quarterback. We've already talked about this. I think you should trade. I'm going to keep saying it. Change him to Taysom Hill. Teach that man to run routes and catch a ball. You can turn him into Taysom Hill as some weapon back there. But he shouldn't be playing quarterback as well as dropping back and throwing the ball. Cam Ward is a hell of a quarterback in my mind. He's a baby Ben. I think he's going to have, rough start to the season maybe. But over the course of the season, I don't think he's going to have any issue getting Calvin Ridley the ball, period. He's going to probably end up finishing as a solid number 2 receiver in the league this year. And if you can get him in the 7th, 8th round, or in between pick 70 and 80, you're going to be real excited. Number 4 on the list, Carolina Panthers running back, Chuba Hubbard. Currently going as the 19th overall running back, 62nd overall pick. So that's right there at the beginning of the 7th, or maybe, 6th round, or depending on how many players in your league. But the 19th overall running back is way too low. I got him up there, I think, at 12. Chuba Hubbard's a stud, man. And that offense is only improving. They got a new OC. I do believe Pollard's going to be involved, but I don't think that's going to affect Chuba Hubbard too much. I think they're just going to have more success. And keeping Chuba fresh would be great. He still can catch the ball. He still can run the ball. They're still going to trust him in the red zone. He's their red zone back. So that's the most important part of that. He could end up with 12 touchdowns this year, no problem, if Carolina improves just a little bit, gets 5-10 more plays a game. You know what I mean? It's about converting those first downs. And if Bryce Young takes that step and McMillan is what I believe he is, you'll see the improvement as the season goes on, that they're getting more opportunities, more plays per game. You're getting 55 plays a game. That's not enough. You want to get up to 70 offensive plays, 75, 80 offensive plays. That's where the fantasy points are really going to stack up for multiple players. But Chuba Hubbard is a starting quarterback and our starting running back for the Carolina Panthers. And he should be getting drafted in probably the top 35, top 40, top 35 picks. Chuba Hubbard should be going off the board. I'm probably going to be taking him around 25 to 30 is where I'm realistically going to be drafting him. And if you want to wait till, 40, whatever. But right now he's going as the 62nd overall pick in Superflex ADP. I can't drop him that low. I need running backs. More leagues, more than not, you're starting at least 2 running backs with flex spots. You're starting 3 or 4 running backs if you want. Chuba Hubbard should be one of those running backs. He's probably my bottom ranking. Like I said, I think I got him at 12, 13. So he's right there around that 1-2 turn on a running back rankings for those 12-team leagues. And if he's your your best running back is the last number 1 or the first number 2, you can grab a couple more 2s and try to make up because you're stronger because you grabbed a receiver and a quarterback the first 2 rounds. You get Chuba Hubbard in the 3rd round, and you're starting off your team fine. Maybe you go right back, get another running back, stack them up, then get back to doing whatever you want to do. Maybe you go a solo option, tight end, one of those single spots in most leagues. But Chuba Hubbard's a damn good running back, man. He impressed me a lot last year. And for him to be ranked as a 62nd overall player in a Superflex league, you got to think you could put him in the Superflex spot. If you stacked up on running backs or you got quarterbacks with the same bye, Chuba Hubbard he's going to be one of my starting running backs this year, all year long, barring health. So don't understand why he's going this low. The last guy is the winner of the offseason in my mind so far. That's Chase Brown, Cincinnati Bengals running back. They have him as the 12th overall running back. I got him, I think, at 6, 7. I forget what it was. I'd have to go back and look. I got him as a top 10 running back, though. So I already think that's not a huge drop. I get if somebody wants to take this guy or that guy over him. But the 44th overall, not a chance he's making it there in my leagues. I can tell you that much right now. Chase Brown is getting drafted in the top 25 picks, top 30 at most. And I think you should be taking him in the top 25. I think he should be going around a 20 to 25 range, if not a little bit earlier, based on how you're building your team or who you got in your first round, whatever. How many teams are in your league. Grab this guy as your number 1 running back because that's what he's going to finish as. He's in an offense that's going to have to score points because their defense is in shambles. We already talked about that at the beginning. It's a common theme amongst my videos simply for the fact I'm in shock how bad I think the Bengals are going to be this year on defense, barring them signing these players. I think they get those 3 players in camp and rolling. Bengals will have a similar defense to last year, which wasn't very good. But they're not going to be the worst in the league probably. There's probably still a couple other teams that could be worse than them. But at the end of the day, Cincinnati is going to have to score. And Chase Brown proved last year he can handle the load, man. He didn't even start the whole season because of his whole Zach Moss thing. But once he got into the show, man, it was bright lights and touchdowns. It was fantasy points galore for the rest of the season. So if you can get Chase Brown as a 28th, 30th overall player, you're going to be real fucking happy. I'm drafting him probably, like I said, right there around 20 to 25, 18 to 25, something like that, and going to be real excited to get him on my team. That's all there is to it. These are the 5 undrafted: Metcalf, Ingram, Ridley, Hubbard, and Chase Brown. And then the 5 overdrafted were Ladd McConkey, Caleb Williams, Smith-Njigba, Harrison Jr., and Omarion Hampton, the rookie. So just what my thoughts on some guys, where they're getting drafted, where they should be getting drafted, and tell me if you disagree with me. Tell me if you agree with me. Let me know how your drafts are going, where these guys are getting picked. I'm always interested in that. I'm going to continue to pay attention throughout the offseason just so when my big draft, my big redraft comes up in my home league, I got a good idea where these guys could be getting drafted. If I want to snipe somebody, I can do it. So these are all things to be thinking about as you're rolling through drafts here in the offseason. You keep your mind on the news. Any updates you're getting, like I said, one of the tools of it, fantasy football, man, use the tools. One of the rules is use the tools in fantasy football. Keep those updates on. watch the videos even in the off season. Watch them leading up to your draft. Try to stay updated with everything, guys, because it's what matters. And you don't want to be overpaying for guys when you shouldn't be, when you can get better values at a different spot. So other than that, hope everyone's having a good afternoon, good evening, good morning. We're going to get out of here, guys. Till next time, I'm out. First down punts.